Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My home state of Nebraska is home to 7 communities that are served by essential air service. Rural communities rely heavily on essential air service program to provide connectivity and access to critical services. In addition to providing these services, EAS also helps these communities attract business and visitors, driving our local economies. I was very disappointed to see significant funding cuts for EAS in DOT's budget proposal for FY26. Mr. McCormack and Mr. Edwards, will you both commit to working with me to ensure that my Nebraska communities and the rest of rural America are not harmed by reductions in EAS funding?
Thank you for that question, Senator. And I would just simply add, one, of course, would love to continue working with you and your staff on that issue. EAS funding is a priority of Secretary Duffy's. When he was a congressman, he had 2 EAS airports in his district. And I think that you've seen, as we've dealt with this difficulty and lapse in appropriation, the department has really been doing all that we possibly can in order to keep EAS funded through this difficult time. So again, would love to continue working with you and your staff on that vital issue.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards?
Senator, you also have my commitment. EAS is a critical program to our small and rural communities, and we find ourselves in a situation that aviation is truly gravitating towards large hubs and toward the coasts. We need to ensure that there's opportunity for every American to access commercial flights and get to where they want to go. So not only do you have my commitment to support it, but you have my commitment to make sure that those dollars are executed much, much more efficiently.
Thank you. Another one of my communities in my state alliance, they filed a petition for reconsideration on a recent EAS order. As of today, Alliance Nebraska has still not received an answer with DOT on the petition, and I have concerns about how Alliance has been treated throughout this process. Mr. McCormack, I would encourage you to ensure that Alliance's petition is considered in a timely fashion. And Mr. Edwards, should you be confirmed, I would like you to carefully consider that petition as well. Mr. McCormack, Nebraskans want safe and reliable rail service, but Amtrak has not always been fiscally responsible, nor have they been cooperative with their state rail partners who are operating profitable rail service across the network. My legislation, the Amtrak Transparency Act, opens broad meetings to state, or board meetings to state partners and requires disclosures of executive bonuses. Mr. McCormack, as DOT Deputy Secretary, how will you address the concerns over Amtrak's fiscal responsibility and ensure that they work well with their state rail partners?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Senator. And I can't say that I've reviewed the legislation, though I am aware of maybe a companion
It's fabulous.
I'm sure it is. And would love to work with you and your staff on any technical assistance that may be required as part of that process. Certainly, it makes sense to me that that Amtrak would require transparency into the executive compensation.
And I'm sure you're well aware of this situation with the bonuses.
Generally aware, yes, of that situation. And as you may know, the Secretary does have a designee to the board. His designee today is Deputy Secretary Stephen Bradbury. And so I know that making sure that it's successful, making sure it's cost effective is seriously a priority of the secretaries, and would love to keep the conversation going with you and your staff on your legislation.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Morris, Congress authorized the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority to operate and make decisions for both Reagan National and Dulles airports. When making any decision regarding one of the 2 airports, the airport authority considers how that decision impacts the other airport. I have heard that these decisions often benefit Dulles at the expense of Reagan. Do you think the different goals of each airport could be a conflict of interest for the decisions made by the airport authority that oversees both airports?
Thank you, Senator, for your question. I don't believe it would be a conflict between the 2 airports. I want to ensure that both airports continue to remain a good choice, a competitive choice for the passengers that use them, and keep costs low between the 2 of them. I think that we've got a great opportunity with Dulles. It can be a transformative infrastructure project for this country and make it a more competitive airport for a lot of the users in this area.
Would you agree that DCA is effectively subsidizing some of Dulles' operations?
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I'd want to work with both airports to ensure that costs remain low for the users that operate out of those two facilities.
If confirmed, how are you going to make sure that decisions of the airport authority benefit both the airports and their passengers? And where do you see funding coming from to be able to reach some of the goals that you have expressed for Dulles?
Thank you for your question, Senator. I think it's important to be creative with some of the infrastructure projects that I'm interested in seeing the board take up at Dulles International Airport. Why haven't we looked at public-private partnerships? If you look at what have been very transformative projects at JFK and LaGuardia in a record amount of time, that was because it had the private industry and private sector involved. So I'd want to work to find out if we can do a public-private partnership at that facility.
Thank you. Earlier this year, this committee advanced my legislation, which was the Household Goods Shipping Consumer Protection Act. And that bill allows the FMCSA to impose civil penalties against these unauthorized brokers. While the legislation is primarily focused on the trucking industry, I've increasingly heard from constituents across all modes of transportation about the negative impacts of cargo theft. And we're seeing increasing acts that appear tied to cartel activity and organized crime. Mr. McCormack, should you be confirmed, I would like to see DOT working across modes to address the ongoing increase in cargo theft. Would you be open to that? And do you believe that that problem is increasing?
Absolutely, Senator. Thank you for the question. I couldn't say whether it's increasing at this time, but I would say certainly it is a priority of Secretary Duffy's that we engage with our interagency partners and provide what expertise we can in order to reduce cargo theft. I think what you've said, there seems to be significant evidence that transnational criminal enterprises are at play in that criminal activity, and we want to make sure we do our part to reduce it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.